Look at that. This is the Dr. Witchy variety. It's an heirloom. If you have ever wondered what it really looks like to harvest and preserve enough food for your family, well, friends, you are about to see it all. I'm talking dirt under our nails, overflowing baskets, messy house, clinking mason jars, and a few what did I actually get myself into moments along the way. Y'all, we harvested more food this week than I could have ever expected because truthfully, the garden's taking a little bit of a backseat right now, but let me just say, our pantry is officially being put to work and I could not be happier. Can someone say BLT? Whew. So most of these are gonna get canned and preserved, but you already know I'm thinking about a tomato, basil, mozzarella focaccia, and some lovely BLTs in our future. Lovely BLTs. Y'all, this was the week that the tomatoes, I feel like, came at once. I don't know if it's just because we were all out of town and then when we came back, it was like they were just waiting and they had thrown some sort of party in the high tunnel, but I knew Mama had to get busy, and so I turned my kitchen into a makeshift cannery, if you will, and we got pretty busy. Also, a little fun note to self, do not wear white when you are processing tomatoes. Ask me how I know. Anyways, let me walk you through this really simple process. So you'll see here, I've got a pot of water on the stove boiling. I throw my tomatoes in there, and then they go from there straight into an ice bath. And what happens here, you guys, is kind of brilliant. It essentially takes the skin right off, so you are eliminating a step. Now, granted, you are adding a little bit of a step, but for me, this is a lot easier. So the skin just peels right off, and then I am just going in and coring and dicing these and getting ready to pack them into my jars. So once I dice them, you can bring them to a simmer with a little bit of lemon juice and some salt before hot packing them into your jars, and then into the water bath canner they go. It's simple, it's shelf stable, and Winter Jill is thinking Summer Jill right about now. But something else I did before we went out of town that was a game changer, I didn't have time to do this process, so I just harvested a bunch, diced it up, skin intact, threw them in a pot with some onions and some garlic and some herbs, let it simmer for a couple hours, took the immersion blender to them, and then I just popped it in the freezer for some quick, easy sauces. Also works really well. Look at that. Feels so nice. So these were the green beans we had left from last season. So we actually don't have a lot. I think I've got maybe 10, and then I've got some that we put in the freezer. So I think the goal we'll be able to put up, we'll probably do them in quarts instead of pints, but we'll be able to put up, I would say, probably at least a year's worth just off of what we have right now, and that's not even the second succession. Good morning, everyone. Before we head out to the garden, and we've got some onions to harvest and cure, some other things. We're trying to do this in slow doses. It is so hot. So literally just about an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening is about all we can do. But before we do that, we have got sourdough. So I made a double batch of focaccia. If you guys want my free sourdough ebook, I'm gonna put it down in the description. Look at that. I've got a double batch here. I'm gonna try to make a dessert one with some fresh blackberries that we have. And then I'm gonna make one to go with pasta that we're gonna be making for, I think, either lunch or dinner. So let's get this moved into some cast irons and get to going. Do you know where Ziggy is? Ew! Look how pretty. garden is right now. There's something about harvesting an onion that always feels a little sacred to me. It's kind of like uncovering something that's been working in secret all season long. And the hints are pretty subtle when they're ready, right? The tops are just gonna start to flop over. They're just saying, hey, it's time to pull me, it's time to cure me, and it is time to add one more layer to our self-sufficient pantry. Now, many folks will actually cure their onions outside, which is ideal if you have a good covered space, but I actually just hang mine right here in the house on a wire rack, upside down. It's dry, it's shaded, and safe from any surprise things or critters that might get on. Plus, it's just a funny sight if you're not used to it, right? But over the years, this has kind of become the little signal inside our home that the harvest is in full swing. And when you hang them upside down, it helps the necks dry and the top shrink up. So you actually know that they're cured whenever the skin crinkles like paper. Very, very easy, but there's just something so meditative, right, about walking by and checking on them each day. I'm making sure there's no mold, I'm brushing off any loose skins, and onions might be basic, y'all, but don't let that fool you. They are the quiet backbone of so many of my meals, and preserving them like this, right in the comfort of my own home, I don't know, it just feels right. This carrot harvest has been a long time coming, but unlike most garden surprises, I knew exactly what I was going to pull, right? Because that's the beauty of interplanting and honestly just planting your varieties really well. These were all sown with so much intention, right? In soft, loose soil, tucked in between slower crops, giving them just enough room to thrive. So I've got no wild shapes, no surprises here, just straight, clean, consistent roots. And that's exactly what I want, because when you're preserving in bulk or you're feeding a family, predictability isn't boring, my friends. It is truly a gift from above. So I love this part, right? Just the rhythm of the harvest, the pop of the carrot coming loose, the way the soil gives way just right. It's kind of a moment that reminds you how much gardening is about patience and trust. You don't get instant results with carrots. Many of us know this, right? You wait and you wait and you wait. And when they're ready, they don't just feed you, they really do reward you. They are the funnest crop to grow. Now, they may not be the flashiest crop that you're growing in your garden, but they're one of the most reliable. And with a little strategy, they can be one of the most productive too. So now that they're harvested, I'm going to show you guys exactly how I preserve these so that they last for months and months and still taste garden fresh when we pull them out in the middle of winter. All right, so now that we have harvested our baskets full of carrots, this will be the last round of carrots that we have until the fall, but I like to store them to last us from season to season. So we do a big spring planting and we'll harvest, and it will last us until we're harvesting in the winter, and then the winter we'll do a big harvest like we just did here, and it will last us until we're harvesting again throughout the spring and the summer. So I do a method called tipping and tailing. This works for any root veg. So a carrot, a radish, a beet, a turnip. You could even do it with rutabaga. But essentially what you're doing is you're tipping it, meaning you're just popping off the top, and you are tailing it, and you're just pinching the bottom off like that. And then you go through and you repeat this whole process, and then you are going to just rinse them off. Now, you're not really worried about scrubbing them really good. You're just trying to get any clumps of dirt off. And then you will go through and you will store them in a food grade plastic bag, or you could even use like grocery sacks, like plastic grocery sacks. So once you've done that, you just tie the top, and then you take a knife and you poke holes in it for air ventilation. This is actually a really crucial step. And then what I do is I just store these in our refrigerator, and we'll pull from them about every single week, whether we want to cook with them in dinner, Ziggy, whether we want to eat fresh with some hummus or just a snack. put them in a stir fry, ferment them, whatever, but they will last this way in your refrigerator for up to a year. So maybe you are harvesting some of your, you know, spring and summer root crops and you're wondering, well, what the heck am I going to do with all of them? This is my favorite preservation method because it's really, really easy, simple, and quick to do. So now we only have about 1 million more left to run through. All right, so now we get to guess how much this is. Ivy June, how many pounds do you think all this is?
Well, I have a guess.
21 pounds. Okay, Char, how
I'm
many
guessing
pounds?
12.
12 pounds. Okay.
I think 21.
21 and 12. Let's see.
I don't think either of them are right.
I don't even have any carrots on here. There's no way it's true. What? Cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, fresh beans, cherries.
Better put some carrots on there. Oh goodness, I don't know if I'm using right. Oh, I feel like I'm not gonna. I'm so scared I'm not gonna get it right. Wait, Mom, that makes me feel a lot more better. Like a lot more. Am I gonna win? I feel like I'm gonna lose. Cause look at all these carrots. It's 21 pounds a lot. They're each like 2 or 3 pounds.
I don't know. I haven't added it up yet.
Dad was the closest guess.
25 pounds.
Is that my guess? No.
I think you did guess. You said 22.
No, Dad said 22. She said 20.
20.
21.
You were close.
I said 12.
Ziggy, what's your guess?
He said, he said 25.
You said 25? Mama.
Ziggy said Ziggy's right and done. Ziggy's right. Ziggy.
Good morning, everyone. We are on what feels like day 10 of this preservation vlog. You see, I've got my massive basket here, and we are trying to beat the heat. So we have been preserving carrots, we've been doing a ton of tomatoes, our onions, pretty much full sprint all week, getting everything harvested that we can just before the crazy heat. And so today, my mother-in-law's coming over and we are canning green beans. Our green beans are starting to fizzle out, which is pretty expected. Usually we do 2 rounds, and I would say around July is when I'm sowing that second round of beans. So we're gonna harvest what we can today, come back in the house before it gets too hot, can these, and then we're gonna make a couple quarts of dilly beans. You guys, if you've never had dilly beans, they're a fermented green bean. They are so, so good. So let's head out to the garden. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it actually doesn't feel horrible right now. Thank goodness. I'm sure, like many of you guys, we have been experiencing a crazy heat wave. And I don't even know that it's necessarily a heat wave. The issue is we have had record rainfall here in Arkansas. And so what comes with that, y'all know, a good old humidity. And so it's almost just like suffocating when you walk outside. I will say our outdoor garden though, she's loving the rain. She is loving the rain. I still have probably a solid, I don't know. I think if I can another water bath canner full today and every day this weekend, I will have preserved the current tomatoes that we have. So that feels really encouraging. We've got purple hull peas. Y'all, I haven't grown purple hull peas since I think the first year Nathan and I got married. So it was 10 years ago. But I want to show you something wild that I had no idea actually happened. So maybe you guys can teach me a little something, something. I mean, first of all, look at that beauty. I know exactly what we are having for dinner. I don't actually know that we'll have enough to like put up, but if we can all the beans and stuff and just have these fresh, that's obviously like something we don't have to buy at the store. So super encouraging. But look at this. They started climbing, and I have never known purple hull peas to climb like that, ever. And I'm wondering if it's a variety or if that's just how it is. But this brings me back to my childhood at Papaw's. What about you?
What?
Purple whole peas. I told him we've not grown purple whole peas since the first year, or since we've been married. Like,
I know, it's been a while. We grew some equipment.
did we?
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything is kind of wild. I'm going to harvest some of our peppers, pop these in the freeze dryer today. This is the Carmen pepper. You can harvest it when they're green and they taste like a bell. This is where it's starting to turn red, but when it's actually red like this is when it's ready. These are the lunchbox peppers. We have so many peppers, so pretty much what we're doing is just freeze drying these. And then over here, grilling them. I think for lunch we are going to have some blistered chichitos.
Yeah.
That and some butter is what is on the to-do list. So, all right. You're doing good, babe. Looking cute in that little tank top there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Still order these on our website.
Grow what sparks joy, baby.
That's right.
All right. Let's get some of these. Trying to beat the heat. I love picking beans though, but I told them this is probably our last big wave and then we'll have to get another one in the ground.
Did you tell them that we're taking July?
No, let me tell him. Let me
Sorry.
tell him. All right, so Nathan and I have been talking about something and I'm pretty excited about it, to tell you the truth. So, because we grow food year-round, we are 8A gardeners here. There's always an abundance of food. Like, we just never run out of food. And while some of our crops are coming out, like you saw this week, our carrots, our onions, we're going to be taking out all of our cucumbers and we could do another round. But our peppers are going to be cranking until about November. We've got our sweet potatoes, our regular potatoes. We're just going to have plenty enough food. And so there are some tasks that we have been putting off for what? A while now?
Oh.
One of those tasks is that we have to replace the plastic on our high tunnel. So you need to replace this about every 5 years, and I would say this hasn't been replaced in
It's been longer than that.
way long. We've had so many storms. You guys can see here there's just like massive holes in it. So we knew before the winter garden we had to replace that. And then we've got to replace all of the drip line in all of our beds. And so Nathan and I were talking, and we think since we already have food that's kind of on autopilot in here, and we already have some beds that are going to be empty, like I said, this is probably our last big round of these beans, we are going to take the whole month of July off. What does that mean? What does that mean for our family?
That means we get to travel.
That, I don't know that we're actually traveling, but that means we can pretty much have the food on autopilot, be on autopilot, come and harvest that weekly as we need to for dinner. But we've got tomatoes we're pulling from. We've got all of our carrots, radish, and turnips already stored in the refrigerator. We have all of our onions and garlic pulled. We have, yeah, pretty much everything we could possibly need to where we will be able to take a month off and still not have to buy any food from the store. We'll either come out here and it will be on autopilot, or we already have it preserved, which is nice because we're taking off the hottest part of the year, which is great. But then we can go ahead and get all this stuff done and it will be ready for when we get ready to sow our fall crops. Now, what we will be doing in the meantime is starting, we'll be ordering all of our seeds for fall. We will be starting those seeds. We'll be amending all of the beds before we get the drip line in, just making sure everything is optimal, because our biggest growing time here on the farm is actually throughout the fall and the winter. That's when we do the most of our growing, the most of our preserving. And so we just want to make sure everything's kind of optimal for the fall and winter season, which is so encouraging.
It's also the best time, in my opinion, to get a new soil sample. We
Yeah.
test our soil twice a year.
Yep.
That's a great time to test your soil so you know what amendments you need to do.
Yeah, so we're actually really excited. I feel like this year, the rain, the heat, we've just been kind of needing a break, to tell you the truth. And so this is going to kind of give us that break. I think I'm even going to start my seeds inside, just so that I'm not having to be out in the greenhouse every single day, multiple times a day, watering everything. But if you're curious what you can even be starting right now, or growing right now, or succession planting right now based off of your zone, I created a year-round seed starting guide. It breaks up every single zone based off of every single month of the year and tells you what you need to be planting in what succession. You can check it out down below. It's $15 for the guide, but I rely on that guide heavily to figure out when I need to be starting what. But I don't know, I feel like when people ask, you know, what's the pro to growing food year round, I would say this right here. Because we're getting things out in succession, it's not like my garden is this one-hit wonder and we've got to go all in the summer. We get to really space that out throughout the entire year, making it manageable for our family. And I don't know, it's just really encouraging. We've even talked about before, like just growing enough one year to where we could just take that following summer off and just have a summer, you know?
Except for cucumbers.
Yeah, except for the cucumbers.
We love some cucumbers.
Even still though, we could get a late summer, fall round of cucumbers in our zone.
That is true. That is true.
So, I don't know. I'm curious, have you guys ever skipped the summer garden and just, you know, grew in the fall? Is that something you would even consider, is growing a spring garden and a fall garden? I'm going to be doing a free workshop in July. I'll pop the details in here as we get closer to then, but really just shining light on the beauty of a fall garden. I mean, I absolutely love it. Oh my word.
One we forgot about.
Whatever doesn't feed us feeds the pigs, so yeah. It kind of works out great, huh? But I don't know. You guys know, if you've been following us for any period of time, you know I absolutely love a fall garden. It's easier on the gardener. The pests aren't near as bad. It's just a beautiful time to be out here growing food for our families. And I would even argue, found a bean that we missed. I would even argue, if you are a beginner, the best time to grow a garden is in the fall, because the elements are a lot easier. You don't have near as many pests or disease. The crops are more forgiving, in my opinion. So, I don't know. I'll be singing until the cows come home about how much everyone should be growing a fall garden. And there's so many things too, even if you live in a zone that it gets really cold, like colder than we get here in Arkansas. Establish row covers. I actually talk about this too in that seed starting guide, but you can put up row covers. You can create little microclimates. There are things that you can do. You can buy frost tolerant varieties, but the key is you got to get them established enough, early enough before they go in the ground and then the cold weather hits. So that's why, even though we won't be doing a lot out here in July, I'll still be ordering seeds, making up my seed starting mix, getting the things started. That way they're nice and established and we can still get them out, what, late July, early August probably? So
that's why that guide's important.
Yeah, I will say, once I learned to succession plant, it really kind of changed how I gardened. These are called the dragon tongue beans. Aren't they pretty? But because all of these are heirlooms, we can save all the seeds from these, which is probably what I'm going to do.
Yeah, there's a ton.
So that's encouraging. Which, I say this all the time, but I think it's probably worth noting. A food-producing garden is not the same as what? Do you ever come to my talks?
Do I?
Do you ever come to my talks?
No, I'm stuck watching kids.
Oh, well, I always say a food-producing garden is not the same as a Pinterest perfect garden.
Oh, yeah.
So while there are weeds in here, that's okay, because we are still producing food. Let's see if I can make it. Woo! So we've got one spot out in the raised bed garden that has self-seeded on a trellis. Oh. Whoops. But we can probably fit a water bath canner, which is how we're gonna can all these. Probably do a water bath canner full, which will be nice. And if there's any extra room, come out here and harvest some tomatoes. Throw those in there. Wow, so many green beans. Let's weigh it. I'll get my planner. So let's see, bush beans, tunnel. All right, so y'all know I keep pretty detailed record of what we yield in my tiny farm planner. In the variety review section, you can break it up into crop variety, the location it was grown in, if it had pest, disease, the flavor, the performance, the yield, the pros and cons, and then any extra notes. So I really utilize the yield section because I like to know what varieties yielded the most. Now, I knew since these were a hodgepodge of old bush bean seeds, we weren't gonna perform as well as if I grew a high producing Provide or Trilogy mix, something like that. But even so far, we've had 2 big harvests and we have yielded 30 pounds of beans so far off of our first round. So I feel pretty good about that. I think this will definitely put up a canner full. So again, we're just doing this in small doses and I feel pretty good about that.
Family affair.
Family affair. Where's... They look good.
So beautiful. And that's just warm water, since we have the warm water, even though it's not boiling.
Woo! That's the best one ever!
Y'all, I am so tired and truthfully, I've not done any of the preserving today. Shout out to the man behind the camera. Nathan and my mother-in-law have been really at it all day. So we got some corn from a local farmer that they canned. They have frozen some whole. They have shucked some and frozen it. We have got the pressure or the water bath canner full right now. We got a good healthy dent of our green beans canned. We already have some of those frozen as well. And then made a healthy dent in our diced tomatoes. So I am just so shocked, honestly. Every time peak summer rolls around, Ziggy, ignore the baby in the floor. I'm honestly so shocked every time summer rolls around and we just harvest like pounds and pounds of food. I'm just always so surprised at how abundant our gardens are, and I'm just so thankful. So I wanted to share with you guys a week in the life of harvesting and preserving and just show you what's possible even in a small space. You guys know we grow about 80% of our family's food needs out of a 20 by 50 foot space. Are you done? Are you done? Okay. So you guys know are you done?
Bloopers.
Ziggy, you're so loud.
Girls, come get Ziggy.
You're so loud. Come here. So you guys know we grow about 80% of our family's food needs here on the farm, and most of that comes from a 20 by 50 square foot space. I need a coffee. Okay, maybe we're quiet now. All right, take 1 million. All right, so you guys know we grow about 80% of our family's food needs here in Central Arkansas in a 20 by 50 square foot footprint, really. And so I'm always just so shocked at how much we can crank out in such a small area. When we're succession planting, we're growing year round, we're preserving the harvest as it comes in to be able to utilize it well after the summer garden is gone. So I don't know, just thought I'd share with you guys what we harvested this week, what it looked like harvesting, what it looked like preserving. And yeah, it's always just such an honor. So I would love to know, what are you guys harvesting in your late June, early July gardens? What are you preserving? What's your preservation methods? You guys know I love hearing it all. The only thing I didn't get to is telling you guys my dilly bean recipe. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that recipe down. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. It'll be in the description.